800-257-1257. Toll free. Call Garden State Life Insurance for your free information today. 257-1257.
This is CNN.
There we are, live on Capitol Hill as lawmakers crank out bills around the clock trying to get home in time for Thanksgiving, but they may be back on Capitol Hill before Christmas.
Your economic situation could benefit from the political mess our guest expert explains in today's Watch Your Dollars.
And if you're taking off for your turkey and trimmings, brace yourself for those big crowds.
We'll have these stories and more for this Wednesday, November 27th.
This is Day Watch with Bob Cain and Donna Kelley. News for the conscientious consumer.
Good morning to you. Angry House Democrats are spoiling for a showdown with President Bush, and they laid down their first challenge this morning by narrowly passing a crime bill Mr. Bush has labeled unacceptable. It would require a 5-day wait for handgun purchases, expand the death penalty for 50 federal crimes, and allocate more funds for prisons. With the 205 to 203 vote, Democrats hope to force the president into a veto battle over crime.
This is not a crime bill. This is a criminal bill. In fact, what this bill ought to be called is a Criminal Relief Act of 1991.
This is a test of will. Are the will of the collective American people in this country going to win, or are the Republicans going to win? Are they going to say that this is a pro-crime bill and get away with it, or are we going to deny them the chance to deny the American public the relief they have been asking us for years?
The crime bill faces an uncertain future in the Senate. Republicans there are threatening a filibuster to avoid such a veto fight. In the meantime, House Democrats also have accepted Mr. Bush's dare to take up a tax cut bill. The House will begin hearings next week, and plans to adjourn for the year are now in disarray. The House has stayed in session all night long and is currently working on a banking bill. It would allocate $70 billion to replenish the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and $80 billion for the savings and loan bailout. Well, during the night, the House passed a $151 billion highway bill. It creates $119 billion for highways, $32 billion for mass transit projects, and would create about 2 million jobs. Some say up to 4 million jobs. The White House describes results from Congress as the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is the transportation bill, according to spokesman Marlin Fitzwater. The bad, he says, is the crime bill, which the president vows to veto. And the ugly, the banking bill. The White House contends negotiators stripped away any benefit to the banking industry. But Fitzwater says they'll await the final version. Another poll finds the president's approval rating in sharp decline. This CNN Gallup poll finds only 52% of those questioned approve of his presidential performance. 39% disapprove. This represents a 14-point drop in the president's approval rating since mid-October. Well, back then, Mr. Bush enjoyed a 66% approval rating. This latest CNN Gallup poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3 percentage points.
Well, a call by some politicians, including one politician named George Bush, to cut interest rates on credit cards was enough to send stock prices plunging 12-odd days ago. Today on Watch Your Dollars, we'll try to measure the distance between Washington and Wall Street, between the House and your house. It is hard to imagine anyone better qualified to help us measure that distance than our guest, James R. Jones, currently Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the American Stock Exchange, also a former member of Congress, and served as Chairman of the House of Representatives Budget Committee from 1981 to 1986. He joins us from our bureau in New York. Morning, Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Let me ask you first to cut through, if you can, all the rhetoric from both the White House and Congress, and tell us where you see the blame lying for the general flabbiness and shortness of breath of this country's economy.
Well, I guess the blame could go back several years to the huge deficits of the previous administration. That has taken away any kind of fiscal policy stimulus when the economy slows down. So monetary policy is all you have, and the Federal Reserve has not been as liberal, so to speak, in loosening up the monetary policy and letting money supply grow.
Do you see the president as, if not in trouble, at least threatened by the economic issue come '92?
Oh, I think there's no question about that. The economy is the pocketbook issue that elects or defeats political leaders. And if you look at past history, if the jobless rate, for example, has gone up in the second quarter of an election year, the president or the incumbent president usually loses. And if it goes down, he usually wins. If there is a recession in the autumn of an election year, then the incumbent party usually loses, and if it's not in recession, he usually wins.
Let's look at some of the specific issues that could be bothering Americans. On a recent edition of Frontline, I believe on PBS, a case was made, a strong case, the viewer was led to believe, that Japan continues to dump some of its manufactured products in this country and engage in even heavier-handed methods on some other products, such as the Nintendo games. How big a card is the Japanese card in terms of its effect on the U.S. economy?
I think in terms of its actual effect, it's not that big a card because the Japanese have been so successful. They're a target out there that can be pointed to as a cause for our own economic problems. But as a practical matter, our economic problems are internal, and we have to solve them internally.
More and more, we Americans are concerned about the security of our jobs. Your thoughts on that?
Well, that is a big problem. We're going through a period of transformation in two respects. We're getting out of that period of the go-go 1980s, the deficit, the credit card mentality, and we're wringing out that kind of debt overhang. And as a result, we're pinning back both in our personal, our business, and our government expenditures. Secondly, the whole service industry is going through a remarkable change. The financial services industry, for example. And so there has been downsizing and reduction of jobs, and that has left consumers and workers and investors alike wondering, where will I be? Will I have a job in 6 months or what have you? Will some member of my family be out of work? And that is reflected in the downplay of consumer confidence. This latest poll was a 10% drop in consumer confidence from October to November, and it's at, I think, the second lowest level of consumer confidence since these polls have been taken. So all of that uncertainty about whether or not the job will still be there is affecting consumers' attitudes.
Let me ask you, from your unique perspective and background, whether you understand the malaise felt by many Americans who really have a feeling they just don't know where to turn, don't know where to put their money where it'll be safe, don't know whether it's smart to buy a house. They're not even sure their pension plans are going to be worth anything. Do you understand this feeling that so many Americans apparently have?
Yeah, I understand it, and I think that's where it puts a tremendous obligation on the president to pay 100% attention to domestic policy and to not appear to be jumping from one thing to another thing, to sort of lay out where we are and where we're going. I think the American people are looking for that kind of leadership and that kind of reinforcement of confidence in the future. I do think there are some awfully good buys out there. The equity, a lot of investors, when the market dropped 120 points, a lot of individual investors came back in the following Monday, found some good buys in equity investments that they intend to hold, and so there are lots of good buys and investments out there for investors to look at. But right now they're more concerned as to whether or not we have a clear direction as to where we're going as a country, as an economy, and I think that's where the president really has a tremendous opportunity and obligation to step in and give that sense of confidence and direction.
Mr. Jones, thanks for your insights.
Thank you.
On tomorrow's Watch Your Dollars segment, we explain the do's and don'ts of shopping by catalog. We'll tell you ways to get your money back, for example, if you're not satisfied. Tomorrow on CNN Day Watch, beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Donna.
Bob, coming up, an unwanted homecoming in Cambodia sends one leader to an armored personnel carrier and out of town. Also ahead, a new threat for people stricken with AIDS. Plus the rush to get to mom's or grandma's house for the day of thanks. Stay with us for those stories and more.
And here's defender Bill Jackson warming up for his title bout with the challenger, the Stork Chocolate Reason. And the fight is on. Oh, it looks like the Stork Chocolate Reason may triumph this time, but hey, Bill shows plenty of staying power. He's no quitter, and yeah, the tide has turned. Bill Jackson has him up against the ropes. Bill Jackson has licked the Stork Chocolate Reason, and now he's enjoying his victory. Stork Chocolate Reason, the chocolate challenge.
Look what's popping up, that's free. Special K waffles from Eggo. Once you see how good fat free can be, oh no, you never let go.
No way. It's all mine.
Special K waffles from Eggo.
Eggo Special K waffles. Crisp, delicious, yet every bite fat-free, cholesterol-free, and just 80 calories per waffle. See how good fat-free can be.
Oh no, you never let go.
Nah.
Special K waffles from Eggo.
Remember how much fun it used to be to play in the snow? Well, it still is. To visit a place where the snow is as good as it gets, and all the ways to play in it have been perfected, just call 1-800-COLORADO. Get a free vacation guide, a travel discount certificate from Continental, and a chance to return to childhood.
I crave snacks, but sometimes those calories have to be tabled. No problem. I've got Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. The great taste I love and only 10 little calories. Instead of munching, I enjoy pure chewing satisfaction.
The Can We Talk girl herself faces the other side of the microphone and tells us what life was like before and after Edgar. Joan Rivers, today on Sonia Live, 1 p.m. Eastern, only on CNN.
Life just became a little less certain for certain working Americans with AIDS. A federal appeals court has ruled that self-insured companies can cut their health benefits at any time or those of other workers with catastrophic illnesses. The case involves a Texas music store and a worker who since died of the disease. The store reduced his coverage from $1 million to $5,000 after he developed AIDS, and the court ruled the company's action was not discriminatory. Experts say the ruling is certain to guide courts elsewhere. A drug manufacturer says it will pick up the tab for any doctor who gets sued over a controversial sleeping pill. The drug Halcyon has been banned in Britain, Norway, and Finland. It's been linked to memory loss and depression after prolonged use. The Upjohn company says there's been no backlash from U.S. physicians, but the pharmaceutical company says it will defend any doctor who properly prescribes the sleeping pill.
The government's offering mixed economic signals today. The number of people filing new claims for federal unemployment benefits took a sharp downturn. The Labor Department reports the largest one-week decrease since January of 1982. For the week ending November 16th, new claims dropped by 80,000 from the previous week. But many people might not have been able to file because claims offices were closed on Veterans Day, which was that week. American incomes went up just a tad last month, 0.2%. That tiny increase is said to be the cause of the sharp drop in consumer spending, 0.3%. Today's Commerce Department report shows the biggest spending decline in 6 months. As people spend less, orders are up for big-ticket items like military hardware. October orders for durable goods rose by 3%, the largest rise since July.
The top Palestinian delegate to the Middle East peace talks is accusing Israel of stall tactics. The Israeli Defense Cabinet met today and decided to request a delay on the next round of the talks. The White House had invited Israel to resume talks with Arab and Palestinian representatives in Washington on December 4th. But Israeli leaders say they need more time to prepare. Israel wants the talks to begin December 9th and then quickly move to a Middle East location. Jordan and Lebanon have accepted their invitations, while Syria and the Palestinians have issued a qualified yes. Cambodians, still angered by the notorious legacy of the Khmer Rouge, chased its leader out of the country today. Protesters ransacked the residence of Khieu Samphan, who just returned to Cambodia from 13 years in exile. That was as part of a UN-sponsored peace plan. Threw rocks at his villa, set belongings on fire, and security forces helped him escape to the airport, where he boarded a flight for Bangkok, Thailand.
Coming up in sports, Jim Huber with an update on what has come to be known as the Seattle Overtime Jinx.
This is our vision of what a luxury sedan should be. Not because